Yoy!
I'm not going to worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy!
We talking about
Twitter.
Triple yoy!
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy!
I don't send messages, I just make moves. We want them to be fat and sassy and spoiled.
It's my quarterback.
It's that time again for the show that never really begins or ends. Actually, the show with no ending. If your show is about hot and toxic takes on the internet, then your show will never end. Forever and ever. Mm-hmm. Happy Maundy Thursday for those who celebrate. And for those who don't, happy Throwback Thursday or Thirsty Thursday, whichever your
alliteration
God
goes to. Yeah.
Yeah. This is What Jin's Talking About, the conversation about the Steelers, social media conversation, exposing all your hot and toxic takes. But, well, I'm Kyle Christ. Let's introduce everybody. I'm Kyle, and with me is Greg Benevent.
Hello.
But is there reason to be toxic? Did you get your tickets to the parade yet? That's right. We are the March champs.
Guys, it's March.
March champions back
March.
to back.
Guys, it's March.
You
know what I mean? Late March.
I can't wait for the parade.
Late March.
Late March.
Late March. Late March. Late March. Late March. Late March. Late March. Late March.
Cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. That's right. Back to back March champs. I don't know how I feel about it. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy. March champs. Yeah.
Well, it's better than not improving the team, but it's something they had to do because they weren't the April champs, nor were they the champs during the actual season.
Well, who are the April champs? Oh, draft champs.
Draft champs. Yeah.
Weren't we? Weren't we?
We were up there. We were up there. We were up there. I think it. I think the April championship got taken away when Corey Trice hurt his leg again.
Spring ball, spring champions. Mm-hmm. Let's not get out of. I don't know what's worse, the toxic takes or the ones that think that winning in March is what the standard is. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll take the second one just because it's A, different, and B, at least positive. I mean, it's likely wrong, but at least it's a breakup from the constant drumbeat of negativity.
Okay, then let's get to these takes. Starting with at Mic'd Up Sports, Mike Nicastro. I think it's legitimately safe to say the Steelers have had the most active offseason of any NFL team. That's actually not that hot of a take. That's
right.
Just,
yeah, that might be a statement of pretty close to a statement of fact.
Although I remember last offseason being about as hot as this offseason, except for, with the QB, of course.
Yeah, the big QB thing. And how many starters did they sign last season? I mean, it was Sayamalu. It was Roberts,
Pat Peterson,
and Cole Holcomb. And I guess this year the only real starters are Queen and Russell and Russ or
Russ
or
Fields.
And I guess technically the punter, but that doesn't feel like that hot. So I think maybe active
and a returner. We'll get to special teams talk. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what the national take is. At Wingo's, Trey Wingo. Is he even on? I don't even know. Is he even on anymore?
I don't even know if he still is. I mean, obviously you'll remember the name for the rest of your life, but yeah.
Trey Wingo, the Steelers are going to be very interesting this season. Aren't we interesting every season?
You beat me to it,
Perennial playoff contender.
With always some bizarre drama, some weird thing going on, whether it's, the offense being carried by the defense, their defense being very good, or just something else. I mean, I would substitute very interesting for have a chance to be better, but win or lose, this team is going to be interesting. They've always been interesting. They'll continue to be interesting. I can't remember the last boring year because I don't think there was one.
What was the last boring year? Could you say 2020? Could you say, because just going 12-0? But those weren't boring games.
No, those aren't boring games, and it's also I mean, what I'm also not going to say is boring is a team that was very good and then falls off a cliff. Like, again, that's very much also the opposite of boring.
Okay, you're the thesaurus. I'm not. I don't know. I can't speculate or regulate on what. Okay, but that was just that's a national take. There's got to be a more local. At Pittsburgh Sport, known Tomlin hater, Steelers takeaways. Win or lose, this Steelers team will not be boring. This team has become, if nothing else, very interesting and, dare I say, entertaining. Do you want the entertaining team or would you want the winning team?
I would prefer the winning team. I do think on some level maybe this team, from what we saw from the edict from Rooney and all that, to win more, they might have to become more entertaining. But with entertaining probably comes a higher likelihood of turnovers. Look at the Killer Bees era if you want entertaining, and how many AFC Championship games are they get to? Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, how many times did Le'Veon either A, get hurt, or B, not show up until right before the game started?
It is a pebble in my shoe.
Yeah, that was enough to get you on the DL back then, I guess. All right. Anyone else really excited about? Believe me, I'm excited.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't mean to imply that you weren't.
But I'm not putting these kind of takes.
No.
At Michael Beck 56, Michael Beck, I'm really excited about the direction of the 2024 Steelers, and I still think they signed 2 to 3 more guys before the draft. They will not be an easy game for anyone, right? Because Steelers were this pushover team, unless you were the Niners in week 1. This was not. The Steelers have never been a pushover team, even maybe back into the Duck, which we claimed was the worst QB room ever.
Well, they were kind of a pushover team a bit in Kenny's rookie year. I mean, with the Eagles, the Bills, that home game against the Bengals. I mean, they got pushed over. There's been more pushover games in the last 5 years than there were for a long time before that. But I also think they're going to sign 2 to 3 guys before the draft because they better.
Yeah.
I mean, they've lost a lot of guys. I mean, they lost a center, they lost a tackle, they got to bring in a center, and they got to bring in a tackle, and they lost a receiver that can actually be a number 2 versus signing a bunch of the most unemployed fast guys they could. So yeah, I mean I feel excited about the direction of the team too, but also in like a queasy way about am I driving this car too fast? Like, that's exciting too, but like it could also wreck. Like there's a second side to excitement.
That is a reasonable expectation.
Okay, all right, yeah. No, let's take it slow. Let's take it. What about anyone else really excited? I think so. How about at Leroy Randall Van Heflin? Steelers signing Cordarrelle Patterson with the new kickoff rules. This is the most pumped up for a season I've been in a long time. Most pumped up since, I don't know, last season's perfect preseason. How long back are we going? This is the most I've been pumped up since January. What I don't know.
Optimistically, I will say this person was looking for an excuse to get pumped up, because if all it takes you to get pumped up is we signed a new kick returner, like that's you were what you wanted to be talked into being pumped up. And 2, I don't know if this will happen, but I imagine we'll get a chance. When the time comes, we could probably do an entire episode just based on people's tweets the first time they see this new kickoff. Like, you want to talk about hot and toxic takes. The first time, they have to look at what that alignment's really like and how much it looks unlike anything you've seen before, because you did not watch the XFL.
I've trained myself to hate it.
We'll get to Cordell in a minute.
I'm just talking about the kickoff itself. Like, I'm not even on Cordell yet, but just when you see that thing and how, 8th grade gym class it looks, and it's probably better for the game. It really probably is. It brings kickoffs back. It lets dudes get hurt less. Like, it's probably better for the game. But like, the reaction videos to it are gonna be something.
Well, one person isn't excited about defending March champs, and that's Las Vegas. At Steeler Nation, really? Over-under is 7.5 for the Steelers? I guess when this initially came out, it was 7.5, but now the consensus over under for most sports books is 8.5. No, it's not a big money bet. It's minus 110 on the bet. So, but still 8.5. Should I bet the house on that?
I mean, if I had to bet the house on anything, and I don't because I'm not right about things. I would take the over on this just because we have this conversation every year. We have this exact conversation. It's always around this line, and the Steelers always beat it. That's a losing record. So they're going to say that the Steelers are most likely to have Tomlin's first losing record with this team and not with the team he just had. I mean, I'm assuming, remember, for them to get to this 8.5, you're probably taking into account that Burrow's going to be in 100% shape, that Lamar's not going to get hurt, that everything's going to be fine with Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you take this 8.5, you're taking a lot of other things with it too, most likely.
Who's coaching this ball club? Mike T.
Well, I got Mike T. I don't know. Should I put 10 grand on just to win? What would I win?
11 grand.
11 grand.
I don't like that kind of bet. This is where people start like, you could have it as part of a parlay, and it's like, you are an addict. But yeah, I don't bet for this specific reason. But if I had to pick something, I would say they're going to be over 8.5. Sure.
Okay, let's get to. I guess we've been talking about it already, but con season in full effect. But what did the tweet say? What did the tweet say at Scarpizio Scarps? Corderell? What is it?
Island Saunders did it phonetically as Cordero. Like
Cordero.
Daryl with core in front of it. Is that right? I have no idea, but I'm sticking with that so far.
I've been, I've already been saying Cordell, but
Which is going to happen. I mean, come on. They still do he, the Muth, like it,
Well, how about since he plays many positions, why not just slash Patterson?
Hey!
Slash Patterson.
I like that.
You heard it here first, unless someone else has already. I'm sure I can't be that original. Slash Patterson. Okay, anyway, to the tweet at Scarpizio. Slash Patterson averages almost 30 per kick return. With these new rules, special team spots are even more important. No disrespect to Calvin Austin, but he's going to have to prove a lot to make the team. Gosh, this Diet Coke is coming back to me.
No, you're okay. I mean, I don't know about Calvin Austin. I think he's got, to use the phrase we keep using, I think he's in the pole position. But I wouldn't be surprised if, like, maybe one of Quez Watkins and Van Jefferson or Calvin Austin, like, if one of them doesn't make the team. Like, that might be 3 bones in one hat, or 3 dogs in one bone. I think that's the proper analogy as Tomlin uses. But yes, but Cordero, I mean, it's the first actual kick returner they've had since AB, and he's even going to wear the same number probably. So
I can only see him threatening Calvin Austin if he's also doing punts as well, but which I don't know. I don't think he's done punts in his.
I have no
resume.
idea. I mean, I just know Cordero's done everything. Slash has done everything else, including running the ball and receiving. I mean, I just remember he played the Steelers tough in that game the Steelers won a couple of years ago, which I think is like one of the best ways to try out for an eventual job with the Steelers.
I do not think that Calvin Austin has anything to worry about in March, but let's go to this. At Fantascippy, Jeffrey Benedict. Cordarrelle Patterson is going to be the kick returner. Beyond that, in Atlanta last season, he lined up 85 times in the backfield, 31 times in the slot, 55 times out wide. So 86 times like a receiver, 85 times like a back. So we can probably expect that more of the same in Pittsburgh. Which sounds prolific, but that's about as many offensive snaps as Miles Boykin got.
Right. The only thing I meant to that is that Miles Boykin they weren't like handing off to Miles Boykin. Like he took all those receivers as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, that was an Atlanta team that like had one big offensive offensive weapon, that London kid, and the tight end. So that's two. But he's also got, they brought him here, and it's his coach now running the offense, the guy that liked him over there. So I could see Slash getting a fair amount of use. But again, there's also one ball. So I mean, you can't run to Cordero all that often with Najee and Jalen and George and Freiermuth and whoever magical wide receiver number 2 is. So I think you're right about he's not like going to have the most impact on offense, but he should have some.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget about former All-Pro return person Gunnar Gesundheit. Right? That's like we were excited. Were we excited for him? I think we were. He was all pro at the time.
He was all pro at one point, but again, he never lined up in the backfield. He didn't have this many targets as a receiver, and he's also a much smaller guy. But yeah, I think, man, if that's where but that in terms of special teams free agent signings, remember that's what can happen. That you can be excited today, and then you can be yelling about the man going out of bounds willingly on a kickoff return or whatever that was, and the strangest thing I ever saw. Special teams.
You can go from all pro to being a candidate with Lima Swede for the worst photo op in Steelers history.
Oh yeah, to being the point that Tomlin brings up at press conferences unbidden after you've been cut, which is something he explicitly does not do.
That's a curse. They walk you past the 6 Lombardis, and then they have a little video closet with a still picture of Tony Toe Tap there. Where were we? We were talking about
still on Cordero and Con.
You know what? Let's. I still can't get over it. I'm going. I can't get over it. Let's go back to Brooke Pryor. Mike Tomlin says Diontae Johnson didn't express frustration or that he wanted to be traded. Quote, we traded player for player. We had an opportunity to get cornerback Diontae Jackson. He's a guy that we evaluated probably several times since he's been in the league. The Panthers needed Diontae. We needed D-Jack. It was a good exchange. I don't know, man. I'm still sore about losing Diontae Johnson, especially because to me I think that it was like we're clearing the room for Kenny. We're making this Kenny's team, and now that it's not Kenny's team, man, I really wish we had the 5th all-time Steeler in receptions in the room still.
Oh yeah, but this is a place where if you're gonna have faith in Tomlin, I mean you do here too. But I mean, if nothing else, they love this Jackson guy. I mean that you've seen the Tomlin interview, so have I. They really
love him. They know
him.
They've evaluated him several times.
Well, they wanted to draft him back then. I forget why they didn't, or what happened at the time where they didn't get a chance to pick him. They really did like the guy. I mean, I think the other part. I mean, the part that worries me more about them not having Johnson right now is that like they have done nothing to replace him, and a rookie isn't going to cut it. I mean, even the best rookie that's around there in that first round, if they do go there in the first round, which that's also a guy that it's hard to believe that he's going to be as good as Diontae was last season. So that's one where when people talk about like how much better the team has looked, how much better the team is today than when they lost to Buffalo. Okay, maybe they are at a lot of positions, but at some other positions right now they are really at a deficit compared to where they were.
Yeah, if people weren't going to give Tomlin any slack on Kendrick Green, like, they thought he was a plug and play center, then I'm worried about any receiver that we pick up. I don't know, they're plug and play receivers. I don't know, at least historically, not when we drafted him. I mean, I don't know, Juju, that was a second rounder. I don't know.
So was Chase, and he played very well his rookie season, and then of course everything happened with him. The Diontae situation's tough. I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, obviously they'll run more of the offense through George than they have before, and they'll run more of it through Pat than they have before. But you're going to need that second receiver for any of this to work.
I love how they asked, the Panthers guys came over and asked Tomlin, what are we getting with Diontae? And like, here's what he had to say. Here's what he had to say. Psych. Here's what Tomlin had to say about Diontae Johnson, the 5th all-time Steeler in receptions.
Man, you're getting an awesome route runner, man, a guy that can create separation at the top of routes, a guy that's tough to stay with. He can win in non-vertical route running and vertical route running. And so you're getting a guy with a complete skill set in that regard, and I just think he's going to be a big asset to him.
He had like a lot of
It's like, she does everything well. Why did we get rid of this guy? What? It's like, is Levi Wallace, is Diontae Jackson so much better than a Levi Wallace or a Pat Peterson than a Diontae Johnson is to whatever we're about to get.
He is to Tomlin.
Okay.
I mean, Tomlin
All
feels
right.
that way. I mean, that's very much so. I'm unsure about it. I also know that I think Kovacevic intimated this, and so have others, that, Diontae was more unhappy than Tomlin's. Hey, he didn't request a trade. Like, he didn't explicitly say, so trade me like Kenny did. But, I mean, we know that Diontae has been unhappy at times behind the scenes. But, yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm surprised that they traded it and they haven't been able to replace him in any way, because that might be a player that's particularly difficult to replace. But yeah, that's going to be a real test of Tomlin to make this all work.
Right, all this talk that Diontae is, unhappy behind the scenes, but I go right to his tweets at @juiceup_3, Diontae Johnson. I love Pittsburgh regardless of what happened. Y'all fans delusional and swear everything I tweet be about y'all. Need to get a life. I agree. Me too.
Yes.
Get a life so I don't have to. Then we can stop this.
Yes.
Then I can get a life.
This is one of the better tweets that I think we've ever seen from a player, that y'all need to get a life. He even managed to shorten in y'all to YAW, which is not a way I'd seen it written before. But yes, this was I don't believe, I think him and Tomlin are genuine professionals and very intelligent men who know not to say the wrong thing in the wrong place. I kind of do tend to believe there might have been just a little bit of Diontae behind the scenes being upset, because we heard that for several years. And if there's one thing we've learned in the last 2 weeks, it's when you hear somebody's upset behind the scenes, eventually that comes to a head.
Well, when he stirred it up with Mitch, it was maybe these things need to happen, But when he stirs it up with Minka, then he's on a ship
and a coach.
And
Yes.
he's out.
Right, exactly. And I think that also shows the hierarchy of when they talk about the locker room. Like, the locker room is a lot more Minka and TJ and Cam, as we saw with the, hey, let's all go to dinner with James Harrison, Charlie Batch, and Russell, than it is Mitch, who was I think is still probably one of Kenny's closest friends.
I think you've unlocked something. But you know what? Let's give Con credit. We did get a wide out at McChrystal_Alex, Philly sports sufferer. LMAO, enjoy the worst wideout ever, Steelers. This is from this is the Eagle source. So
yes, Quez Watkins.
I don't know. None of these guys are moving the needle for me. I'd rather Allen Robinson back because I know that he is what he brings above the neck.
Yeah. He's a great blocker. That Watkins is fast and nothing else, and has terrible hands, and was an awful pick by the Eagles. And the Steelers have signed him for close to the vet minimum because he's very fast. And that's why, like I said, I think of these three guys, Austin, Watkins, and what's the other one? Jefferson. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of them gets cut. I mean, just because, you guys all kind of do more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
And also, it's not like the Steelers invested nearly as much money as they did in, say, Cordero with what they put into those guys.
No, that's those are good points. I mean, but you still got to take someone out there on the field. And these guys get on the field. I mean, if Miles Boykin did 130 snaps, we expect Slash Patterson to get 170 snaps. We're okay.
And none of these guys are a second wide receiver. Like, none of them are the other outside guy opposite George.
Well, we're going to play three backs, I guess, maybe. Well, who needs a second receiver when
and two quarterbacks, since they also have slash options for Justin Fields as well.
The double tight end, three running backs,
exactly.
George Pickens.
They're going to run the wing T.
Okay, now you sold me. I don't need
there we go.
I don't need another wideout. All right, let's just do. All right, we're going long, obviously, but before we head to break, let's just do a little status check on con season. At Pittsburgh Sport. Pittsburgh Sport returns. Steelers takeaways. Steelers status check 2023 versus now 2024. You tell me if you agree with the state of affairs of the Steelers here. We've got the quarterback room is an arrow pointing up, be it with Wilson and Fields.
Yes, so far, yes.
Running back room is unchanged.
This was from the other day.
This was before
With Cordero, it's an up. I mean, literally, there's a third back. There wasn't before, so up by definition.
Okay. Although I'll say, technically, yes. I'll say more special teams, but sure, whatever. Okay. Wideout is down. Still haven't replaced.
Could not be down more. That's a big arrow, like a hole in the ground.
Worst wideout room since Kobe Hamilton was wideout one. I mean, I don't know. Look, Pickens has been the man in situations, but we haven't seen him be the man
We
yet.
had like 1,100 yards or something. It was still towards the top 5 or 6 in the AFC last year. I mean,
okay, all right,
yeah,
okay.
He's ready to be the one. I mean, it's just you need to find a 2, or else then he's not going to get those 1 numbers.
Or is Pat the 2? Is that someone's argument? Is that?
I mean, we'll see if the draft goes bad. Maybe that's the case.
All right, back to our status check. Tight end, no changes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. O-line room is down, no center.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's literally no center, and they're out of tackle. So, I mean, they're going to get another tackle regardless. But yeah, just because you lose a player, they get a player. But yeah, it's definitely a big down. Not quite as big a hole as the wide receiver one, but still a hole in the ground.
We said tight ends already. D-line is no change. We lost Armon Watts, but we gained a healthy Cam. I don't know.
I could see even a little bit up. They really like that guy they got who's going to replace Armon Watts. The guy from, was it Green Bay or the Vikings? That one they signed the other day. I don't even remember his name, but they like that guy. So that's, I don't know, is there a slight up? I would say either the same or slight up, because that guy's definitely going to replace Watts.
Inside linebacker room is obviously an up.
A huge up, the biggest up on the team.
Biggest up. Big ups. Outside linebacker, this Pittsburgh Sport has a down because we need a 4th, but is that, that's more unchanged in my eyes.
I mean, I'm just assuming they're going to re-sign Golden, so yeah, that's probably an unchanged. Or whenever somebody else cuts this year's Marcus Golden.
Or I got my odds on Tuzar Skipper still, so
he's out there somewhere.
Reboots are big right now. Season 4 of that. Back to the list here. A cornerback is down. Even with our new Diontae Jackson, is cornerback room down?
I mean, it's like wide receiver. They're going to bring in somebody else probably through the draft, but how high are you going to draft that guy? Is it going to be a first-round pick? I think by having Jackson there, it doesn't have to be a first-round pick. I'm kind of seeing, I mean, my voice cracked. I would kind of see this as more or less the same right now. I think Jackson's better than Wallace, or at least they think that. And I guess I'm assuming that they're going to, like Marcus Golden, they're going to sign this year's Patrick Peterson, Chandon Sullivan version when someone else cuts him if they don't get that kid in the draft. So I'm going to say that is even.
Safety room is up. Elliott is an upgrade over Kazee and Neal.
I mean, Kazee had some good games. People forget that with all the weirdness with the suspension and killing the guy in Indianapolis. But Kazee is a ball hawk. So, I mean, I would kind of have this as the same going into the season, but maybe it is an upgrade. But I would have this as the same right now.
Special teams. Obviously, up we have a new punter and with our return person.
Yes, and up a proven punter, not one that will have some very good games and then some very bad ones. So yeah, but also a guy that hasn't kicked as much in Western Pennsylvania versus that weird like rodeo stadium the Texans play in.
Danny Smith has his hands full with a new type of kickoff. Or is this something that Pat Meyer would come in and is it more about teaching blocking technique up front like that?
It really might be. I mean, it's so radically different. It's kind of, I mean, I've watched like one XFL game because I was hungover, but it's really, if you haven't seen it, folks, it's bizarre. Like, it's going to change things in ways we can't really anticipate here in late March.
I think we've seen it by now, right? It's just did it impact the XFL like they're expecting it to impact?
I think it's just there's more kickoff returns. I mean, how many kickoff?
Yeah.
How many? There were Steeler games that had 1 or 2 kickoff returns between two teams, regardless of score, regardless of situation. I mean, it was the touchback was way more common than any kind of kickoff return this past season. I feel confident in saying that, having seen every play by this team.
Okay. Let's enough special teams talk or whatever. Let's get to the second half. Coming up in the second half, the mock season is in full effect. Plus, we'll talk quarterbacks. The Analytic. Add this to your advanced analytics. It's Tomlin's new way of judging leadership and quarterbacks, I guess. And it makes me, I don't know, it's making me reflect about myself. I don't know. And some t-shirt talk. All right, in the second half. Oh, who are the people in Yin's neighborhood? In Yin's neighborhood. In Yin's neighborhood. Say, who are the people in Yin's neighborhood? The people who will tweet each day. Oh, hi there, fellow Yinzer.
Hello.
You look like a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
I've been a fan my entire life.
Wow, so who's your favorite player?
Just one? I don't know, maybe TJ or Minka or Najee.
Well, what about Coach?
Coach Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, you know the standard is the standard and things of that nature.
Tomlin should be fired.
Fired? Isn't that a bit much?
I don't think so. Oh, Tomlin is not the reason why he's never had a losing season. Just because he's won a Lombardi doesn't mean it wasn't Cowher's team.
'Cause a Tomlin hater, someone in Yin's neighborhood.
In his neighborhood, I'm in his neighborhood.
A Tomlin hater, someone in Yin's neighborhood. A person who will tweet each day.
I'll see you around.
All right.
Hey, watch it. Where you going? To a fire?
Ah, fire Tomlin.
Now cut that out.
Tomlin's not the problem.
Thank you.
The problem is the quarterback. This guy is the worst starting quarterback in Steelers history.
Well, we'll find out in camp.
Are you kidding me? The team's best hope is to tank and get the #1 pick.
Well, that kind of feels like hyperbole to me.
I'm the only one who's actually being realistic about this team. Oh, the Steelers really lost their way. I've been saying that like every day. I want everyone to look at me, so my opinion's always contrary.
'Cause a clout chaser is someone in Yin's neighborhood.
In Yin's neighborhood.
He's in Yin's neighborhood.
And Tomlin haters, someone in your neighborhood.
Well, they're the people that you meet
When you're scrolling through your tweets,
They're the people to delete each day. Here we go, Steelers, second half. What Yin's talking about, second half. Second half of a long mock draft season. But before, dude, there's already there were 20 some mock drafts this week, and it's like that was usually like April numbers 2 years ago, you know. Now who knows?
It's
you know,
worse and worse.
could we have a 50 mock draft week? I don't know. It might be coming up anyway.
The virus festers.
Yes, it's spreading. Okay. Before we talk mock, let's talk QBs with some takes from an insider at DLawley_PGH, Dale Lawley. Quote, I think probably the most attractive component of his profile, talking about Russell Wilson, is his quest for greatness, his chase for legacy. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin on Russell Wilson. It's the, we said this about Kenny too, the off-field component, the
Football justice.
Football, yeah. So, we've heard this before about Kenny, but then, Tomlin added a new analytic maybe to measure. Let's
This is a guy that's driven, not hungry, meaning the things that motivate him can't be satisfied. And you just want to do business with people in that mindset who approach business in that way.
Driven, not hungry. There's a difference. Hungry, this guy's hunger can't be satiated. Driven is better than hungry. Do you feel more driven or hungry?
I mean, I like to think I'm driven. Perhaps I'm just hungry.
Right?
I feel
It's
that's
hard to
something
know.
Right, I think that's something we're used to. Like, oh, am I mad? No, I'm just hungry. Like, I think there's something to hunger about that. The way maybe hunger can cause you to like. And I'm totally in the weeds on this, but like hunger can cause you to act rashly or to lash out or to maybe not represent yourself in the best way. Whereas someone who's driven is focused and uses and that drive is what propels them towards greatness versus, okay, here we go. Hunger is a lack of something. Being driven is going towards something.
Okay.
Maybe I figured this out. I have no idea how I got that. I bet I'm right about that. I don't know. I mean, that's probably more thought, frankly, than Tomlin put into that statement. But I'll go with that. That'll be my final answer.
Right? It's like hunger can be satiated. With a contract or a title or a ring,
or even 2 Super Bowls versus the one because you threw it to that guy instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch. Yes,
but drive driven. So I don't know. I like Russ. I don't know. I'm liking what Tomlin likes about Russ.
Yes, I see. I mean, but I think that's the most important thing. When you just go for this, whatever Tomlin said's kind of irrelevant, but you can see in Tomlin what Tomlin likes about Russ.
Yeah.
They know better.
I don't know, do they? Let's get to another tweet. No, yes, it's at Mike DeFabo. Mike DeFabo. Russell Wilson working out in the retro Steelers shirt. Now, first off, this workout is no joke.
This looks like so much fun.
If you've ever tried to do a like reverse lunge and then do a twist with a weight, it's hard to keep your balance. He's doing that with a medicine ball. So.
And this like American Gladiators like moving floor. Like that just looks like such a fun thing for kids to play on. I would love to do this once. I'm sure I'd like break both of my hips, but it looked so fun watching that video.
And even more important is Russ is wearing the Blitzburg shirt. Who is Blitzburg? If you don't know, let me remind you. So of course it's Kevin Green and
rest in peace,
and Greg Lloyd, Quiver and Quake doing the QB shake, and then we've got Chad Brown, the Python Man, and number 99, Levon Kirkland.
That's right.
Blitzburg. I guess that's the 90s nickname, right?
Yes, that, and then particularly that's the mid 90s. I mean, that's how you get after. That's Chad Brown gives that away. That wasn't like that's like probably what 94 to 96. I mean, Chad leaves. Remember there was no salary cap then, so the Steelers had to keep drafting great players, and amazingly they did that. And that's the story of how that team was so good in the 90s. Because Chad was like a 3rd round pick. But anyway, yes, that's most important is that I was terrified for a second when I watched. I was like, Russell was alive for that team, right? And thankfully he was. So this was, but we were talking off the air. This is like a shirt. He had to have like bought this off of Instagram or something, right? Because it's not like this is a kid's shirt. This fits this very muscular man.
There's no way he was a fan. He was 7 years old back then, right? And he's from Richmond, so no way. If any way he was a Pittsburgh fan, he would have been a Slash fan. He'd have been a Cordell fan, right?
Exactly. So Cordell or Yancey or Ernie Mills or something.
You would think Cordell. So I can see if he had a Cordell shirt, that would have been. Now it's super cool still that he has a Blitzburg shirt.
He's trying so hard, and I respect that. I get it. I would too in his position. Why not?
At least he knows. Who did they ask? I remember they asked someone like, "Oh, do you even know who James Harrison is?" And he was like, "Nah," and it's just like, so at least he's showing the respect there.
He's really trying.
Compared to at Simeon.Kelly, this is on Instagram. Simeon Kelly, that's Justin Fields' social media guy. And we've got video of Justin Fields' workout, but it won't play. But come on, play, my friend. He's wearing his own tee. Fields. What? Not since KP8. Not since KP8 have I seen someone so self-aggrandizing.
And that's still the Bears blue, right? I mean, that says Fields in blue. It's not like, I mean, not that there's Fields hero T-shirts yet for the Steelers. If that would be weird even for this fan base. But yes, that's still the blue from because he played at Ohio State. That's not an Ohio State shirt,
right?
So that's a Bears shirt. I mean, I kept thinking of the old line from PCU: "Don't wear the shirt of the band you're going to see." This is the next step beyond that. Right. This is several layers. I'm wearing my own shirt to work out.
Well, you know, any comic knows if you made T-shirts, then your workout shirts end up being your merch.
That's true. He probably still has a lot of these left around, so that's a good point, Cal. I should have been less of a hater.
Russell and Fields make your defense disappear. I don't know. I need a new rhyme.
We have time to work on that rhyme. We have time to work on that rhyme.
Okay. Anything else with QBs? I don't think. I think it's time to get to switch the cameras to the right person. It's like we miss our tech guy, but do we? Okay.
I don't know.
It's right. It's time for the return. Woo! Okay. Jeez, turn it down, Eddie Van Halen. Mock the Rock 24. I've seen these mock so many names across their boards, but they're all the same. Oh, I forgot the lyrics, man. This is the first time we brought it back.
Which is okay, because the blessing is we took this long to do mock draft.
There's only one way. There's only one way to mock the Mock 24. 2 weeks in for us, and we've seen a gain of we've gained 21 mock drafts since last week for a total of 36. As you know, our theorem is if we can get a 50% consensus among these no knowledge, no nothing mock drafts, somehow the crowdsourcing of lack of knowledge and guesstimations and recollections can actually turn into a nugget that no one else has been able to claim except us. What Jim's talking about.
Nice.
The 50% threshold is what we're seeking now. New to the mock era, we've got 5 new names this week. With the big one is with 3 new mock drafts. Center from Duke, Graham Barton. I haven't heard anything about. We don't go to Duke pro days or anything. I haven't heard anything about Duke centers.
I think the only thing I've heard about this guy is he's a guard that's played some center, and as soon as I hear that, I feel myself, my spine tingle and shake.
It's and he can squat 600 pounds like Kendrick Green, and he's Kendrick Green.
Right, only now as a first-round pick as opposed to a third-round pick.
Also new, okay, you want some real tackles? Also new to the mock drafts, we've got tackle from Alabama, J.C. Latham, and tackle from Penn State, Olu Fashanu, with 1 each. Those round out. Oh, I'm sorry. One other offensive lineman. Someone mocked center from WVU in the first, Zach Frazier, which I thought he might be a second-round guy.
Yeah, that's what a lot of them seem to think. And those other 2 tackles you mentioned, they seem to think those were guys that usually go higher in the draft, but for whatever reason they didn't in those mock drafts. I don't know if it was people trading up for quarterbacks or someone doing the Detroit thing of let's get a running back earlier than everyone thinks or something like that.
The 5th new player, new to mock draft kingdom is the cornerback from Alabama, Terrion Arnold. 1 mock draft. So Alabama we send people to the pro day. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, and there's always, Alabama, Georgia. There's always going to be somebody you could take there in your first round.
So to recap, we're up to 36 total mock drafts. Wow. The leading candidate with 5 gained this week, including Mark Cabali, Steelers insider. It's offensive tackle from Georgia, Amarius Mims. 8 total starts. We just drafted. We've never drafted a tackle in the first round until last year. Now we're going to spend 2 in 2 back-to-back years. I mean, I guess.
I mean, that sounds very Andy Weidel is putting together the board. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2 with the most mocked at 7, gaining 4 this week. From LSU, wide receiver Brian Thompson Jr. Wide receiver. But I don't think, has there been an LSU Pro Day? I don't think we sent anyone there. If there even
I
has.
don't know, or when that is, or hopefully, unlike the other schools, they scheduled it at a time when people can actually get there versus just other teams. But everyone would do them like during like free agency days or stuff. That was so weird. So yeah, no, I think there was an LSU Pro Day. I forget, someone was there, but I'm not sure who was. Anyway.
Well, you know who was not there? They were not there at Oregon, who is the number 3 on the mock draft total. Jackson Powers Johnson with 6, gaining 4 this week. 6. The center from Oregon. So there's 1, 2, 3, 9, 7, and 6 between Mims, Thompson, and Johnson. But no appearance at the Oregon Pro Day. Is that?
I thought Bruner was there, who, again, was the last guy from the West Coast they took in the first round, which shows how often that happens. But I could be wrong. I thought
But,
Mark Bruner was there.
but usually for a first-round pick.
Oh, yeah, you'd think Tomlin or Kahn or both would be there if we're looking at a guy in the first round. I mean, that hasn't broken yet, right? It's still, in the last decade plus, Tomlin is there for all of them, which would lead a lot of credence to Mims.
All right, so you're on the Mims bandwagon.
I don't know if I'm in the band, but I mean, that makes as much. I mean, just if we're going by history, but as we've learned in the last month, history tends to get broken more often than it used to.
If you're trying to win now, do you want to invest in a tackle? It would be a third. Either he's your second, and Dan O'More. Dan Moore is your third, or vice versa. But it still is a little bit more of a depth piece than a center. If you want to win now,
you would think you'd go for the center, or yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unless they think Mims is further along than others do, and they try to do with him what they did with Jones, where you have more start in front of him for X amount of games, and then you make up that he said something mean at the end of the game, and then he goes in and starts for him, and they play better after.
Yeah, if you're trying to draft for the future, if you literally were saying, hey, we're not trying to win for now, we got to make the best pick on the board and maybe a tackle, but because Dan Moore's contract is up, and so that's not guaranteed there. But it's really even wide out before tackle if you're trying to win now.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know if they look at the first round pick as this is the only way we're trying to win now. Like, I can see them talking themselves into, okay, we've done all this other stuff to win now in free agency, so let's just take the best player available, and maybe it just so happens to be this tackle that's started 8 more games than any of us listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's I would think if we're gonna do this right now, and we're gonna win right now, then it's gonna be the center, and I think that's the only thing. I think that's part of the reason that even though Tomlin wasn't there for Oregon, that we're all thinking, hey, maybe it was Tomlin, just because didn't he explicitly say in that one interview, like, yeah, there's only 2 centers in this draft you could plug and play. And we're thinking, like, wow, that is a lot more direct than what they usually say about this kind of stuff.
And from the guy who thought that Kendrick Green was a plug and play.
Right. The guy in the third round, we're going to give him Pouncey's number.
Okay, well, let's a couple mocks of note. Like I said, Kabali mocked Mims. Ray Fittipaldo in his chat said he would take J.C. Latham over Mims if it came between those two.
A lot of the drafts, I've only skimmed a few mock drafts, but like Latham is gone at like 10 or 11 in a lot of them. Like, I mean, it sounds like, yeah, maybe they would take Latham over Mims, but how in most of the drafts, he doesn't make it to 20.
If you're going to take a tackle at 20, I think that guy had better have the gabagool. He's better have the gabagool. Okay, let's enough mock talk. We got, are we going to, here's the funny thing about is that, okay, so you get all these mocks. We had 21 mocks at the end of March, more than ever at this time. And then there are the articles that are written about the mock. So it'll be like, Kabali is, there's an article like Kabali's pick in the mock is, so there's the articles with the mock drafts. Then there's the content about someone's mock draft. And now we're getting AI who are able to do their own content based on a mock draft. So you're getting like 3 levels per mock draft of content out
And it's
there.
like multiplicity, where like as they kept making another Michael Keaton, then the one further out got dumber and dumber, hence the AI one.
Oh,
wow.
And it's already dumb to begin. It's
Yes.
But we're here. We're here to break the code. We have the code breaker. So all right, enough of that. Let's just get to a quick little March Madness recap. I'm sorry, Steelers March Sadness. The Final Four is in. If you've been paying attention, then your name is Kyle Christ. Our Final Four, March sad. So after 64 of the saddest moments in Steelers history, people have voted. There's been some voting, and so this has been the Final Four. We've got Super Bowl 30, Neil O'Donnell's second interception in the fourth quarter, going up against Super Bowl 45, Mendenhall's fumble in the fourth quarter.
That sounds like a tough battle. That would be quite a debate.
Well, who gets your vote?
I'll go Neil, just because the Mendenhall team, I mean, they had won multiple Super Bowls. That was the end of an era. They were down so big in that game, and it was a fairly tight line. Whereas Super Bowl 30, I mean, it was such an underdog story. They were huge underdogs, and they were in this game, and they were driving to possibly do it, and then that happened. So that's a tough debate, and I could certainly be talked into the other position. But off the top of my head, I'll go with Super Bowl 30 as the sadder moment.
Okay, yeah, I can't come up to one way or another, really. But
It's tough.
I was younger. 30 was special because I was younger, and so
exactly that too.
And it's going up. The other matchup in the Final Four is the 95 AFC Championship game. 3 more yards going up against the Shazier injury. How would you go?
I mean, I would
one?
vote the Shazier injury, but I think this is the other deserving regional champion. 3 more yards. I think that's certainly. I think that's the other. I mean, again, I kind of think if they do get those 3 yards, they lose to Steve Young's 49ers. But I don't think Steve Young sets the all-time Super Bowl touchdown record like he did against the Chargers. But yeah, I think Shazier's injury is worse. But I think 3 more yards deserves to be there.
Are these the 4 saddest? Is there anything, Tebow to me is still my personal, might be my personal saddest all time.
I mean, it's a sad moment. I mean, they were going to get crushed that next week, but I mean, these of the 4, I mean, this kind of shows the age of who's listening to watching this and listening. Like there's nothing from the 70s made it this far.
Yeah.
And then Marino didn't make it this far, so that shows again the age is here. So I mean, of my lifetime, I'll take these as these 4. Yeah.
And no Ben, someone in the comments was like, how could none of Ben's failures made it? Well, Ben's won as many as he's lost, I guess.
Right, yeah. And who knows what's going to happen next year.
All right, we'll get your votes in, I guess, if you're paying attention, which you are not. Okay, with that, I think the band is trying to take the field. Nope. Gosh, the band was, I put them to sleep. March Sadness talk even put the band to sleep. Let's see if they're out. Oh! March Sadness. All right, a couple odds and ends. First, this was funny to me. This is kind of neither here nor there, but the best question from Tomlin's press conference at the annual meeting was not about Russ or not about Kenny or whatever, but I thought it had, let's just play it.
Brandon Ayuk said you guys look like twins. Has anyone ever told you look like Brandon Ayuk?
I've heard a lot of that recently, yeah.
So the final question, have anyone ever told you look like Brandon Ayuk? And he's like, yes, I've heard that recently. Okay, you think that would be it? No, it's not. That's not the end. Hold on.
Anyone ever told you look like Brandon Ayuk?
I've heard a lot of that recently, yes.
Yeah, no one's ever actually asked you personally?
No.
I got a follow-up. Has anyone ever said you look like Brandon? Yeah, I've heard that recently. All right, I got a follow-up. But have you heard that personally? What? No. So I don't know. I can't.
I mean, that's hilarious to me because I took Tomlin's answer as half sarcastic, half confused, just because has anyone asked you the question I just asked you directly?
Just asked you. It just asked you. Oh, come on, insiders. Just asked you.
I mean, that's almost something you'd see in a sketch. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, he should have said, besides you,
Besides the person who just asked me, not at all.
But he also was just like, yeah, I've heard. But then Tomlin changes his answer to no. That's funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yes, I've heard that. Yes. Yeah. But have you heard that? No. But if he, you know, not that he needs a joke writer, but I would have said like, no, but I've heard he looks like Omar Epps. And maybe that's how I would.
That would have been a nice tag. That would have been a nice tag.
Okay. Moving on. How about this from a long time no tweet at Colin Dunlap. Colin Dunlap. Anyone want to buy Kenny Pickett's house? So Kenny put his house up on the market quickly for something that someone was like, oh, it's an investment property. Not even, I don't know. He put it up on pretty quick. So it's $2.7 million.
Okay.
6 bed, 6 bath. He was planning to live here with a big family, it sounds like.
Yes, very much. That is a lot of arches on this house. That is, they are everywhere.
That's a big house, yeah.
I mean, but there's a lot of big houses without that many arches. They were prepared for snowfall. No, he very much planned on living in Cranberry, which is a wonderful area where I spent a lot of time growing up, not far from where I live where I grew up in Cranberry. So yeah, he planned on, this was, again, I mean, I know it seems like it's been building for a while, but on some level, part me, like you, has kind of wondered if "so trade me" was the rash words that forever changed things.
Pole position is what the trigger word to me. It was like, what? That's what triggered you? Pole position.
Right.
8,756 square feet, fully furnished. He's leaving the Levin furniture behind. It's not coming with him. He's going back to, Trenton makes the world takes.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, should I buy, if I sold my house here in LA,
okay,
I think I would have enough for the down payment on this. But then the monthly payment would be like $12,000.
That might be an issue.
So the median house is on the market for 18 days in Cranberry.
Okay.
So we'll see. It says it's been longer than 18. It's been about 18 days since.
Has it?
I don't know.
I don't think it has. I don't think it's been 18 days at all.
So we'll see how long that stays on the market.
Yeah.
But if it drops, maybe I'll make a move. Maybe I'll make a move on Kenny's house. Would I buy a house just to say this was Kenny Pickett's house? Maybe.
You could leave with. I mean, even if you couldn't afford the payments, you could just payments. You could leave with the furniture, like just kind of.
Yeah. Well, I brag about how my house is the Ann Perkins house from Parks and Rec now, so maybe I would. Okay. Oh no! Wait, we've got one more thing.
Okay.
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep.
Yes, we do.
All right, we'll keep the music, but let's quickly. Final word. Across the street at KDKA, the Renegade hot dog. A foot-long hot dog coming to PNC Park, topped with mini pierogies, pot roast, caramelized onions, and pickles. Debuting at PNC Park. This would be perfect for Acrisure, I think, too, the Renegade. But
absolutely.
What do you think? I would do it without the pickles, but pierogies, pot roast, and a hot dog.
I would do it without the pickles as well. I mean, this is obviously in honor of David Bednar, the Pittsburgh native, the all-star closer, who, of course, is a big Steelers fan, has led the towel twirl. But yeah, the pierogies with it is interesting. I mean, that's a lot of carbs, but the pot roast too. But it would be something to try this just once. But the pickles, I don't know where that comes from. That seems like a lot.
I kind of don't want the dog even. Give me pot roast and it's like a Pittsburgh cheesesteak. Give me pot roast and pierogies on a bun.
Right, that's how I could roll with that. Yeah, that would be all right. You dip it in some mustard, maybe that could be okay.
Okay, let's not push it. It's mustard. Maybe some red hot. I don't know. Some buffalo sauce. All right. I think that's what we've been talking about.
That's what we've been talking about.
I guess. All right. If you want to keep the conversation going, social media is the landmine where I live. Although I stick to TikTok.
Good for you.
At TikTok, no. At Kyle Kreis. Although everyone keeps saying I got to get on Reels or whatever, I just don't like how Instagram makes me feel. It's like it makes me feel bad about myself. I don't know. What about you, Greg?
You can find me on Instagram feeling bad about myself at Greg Benevent, B as in boy, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
I wouldn't mind a review or something. If someone could leave a review for this show on iTunes or YouTube, just so I can know that there's someone just to check in. I always wonder, is anyone listening? Tommy, can you hear me? Actually, one thing that people should watch, it's very Pittsburgh adjacent. There is a Terrible Towel cameo, so I'll give you that. On HBO Max, season 3 of How To with John Wilson. There's the episode How to Watch the Game. It's Met-centric, but there's a Terrible Towel cameo. But I just maybe watch that and then reconsider some of the things you're tweeting on social media. I don't know.
Which you should, even if you don't watch the show.
Let's make 2024 a super positive. Let's if we're going to be the March champs, let's do it with some class and carry it into the season as champions. Let's with some champion swagger. All right, until next week when we forget all about the March champs. Keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.